Welcome to another episode of Real Deal Realtors, where you always get the unadulterated truth. On our show, we share things that you're thinking about, or sometimes afraid to ask, or don't even know where to go. Our Real Deal Realtors and guests have years of experience and are experts in their fields. But most importantly, they care about you, the viewer. On today's show, we'll take a look at how to find the best deal in today's market. We'll learn the difference between short sales, foreclosures, and bank liquidation properties. We'll discover that good deals can be found in both existing homes as well as new construction properties. We'll take a look at the tax benefits of owning a home. And before today's show is up, you'll alleviate any fear that most buyers and sellers experience when going to the closing table or visiting the title company. Let's jump right in with Real Deal Realtor Joseph Atkins. Now, Joseph is an expert in finding the good deal, but today we're going to do it with a little twist. We're going to see if Joseph can help us find a good deal in 45 seconds or less. Joe, are you up for the challenge?
Yeah, Mincy, distressed properties always represent a good deal. Obviously, you know, us Real Deal Realtors have that list of properties. A lot of times it's proprietary, not just homes listed on the MLS, but other properties that we have maybe that are proprietary listings that aren't on the MLS yet. But when you look at a house that has, you know, overgrown lawn, driveways messed up, needs repainting, carpet's bad, smells like pet urine, pools filled in, fences torn down, roofs, all these kind of things, most home buyers kind of turn away from it. Yes, it may take a little bit of cash out of pocket, or you can do the right type of FHA loans to rehab the property. But if you really want a good deal, you need something that needs a little bit of work, okay? And let's look at kind of the short sale process or bank owned process. So a property, short sale, you have the best opportunity probably to get the best deal on distressed properties.
Well, Joe, you're looking good on time. Now, when our viewers have found the good deal, how do you make, what's the process of making this good deal work? You're still on the clock.
Let's just say the home's listed at $150,000 and you offer $130,000 because you think it needs work. Well, the lender, the bank, is going to send out an appraiser or a BPO agent to kind of be their eyes and ears right on the ground floor. And they're going to come, your offer is $130,000, they go out, they come back to the lender and say, well, it's worth $140,000. And then, but when that BPO agent went there, maybe they didn't look at the inside of the house. So now you can counter and say, well, why don't you look at pictures of the inside of the house, see how bad it is, and then so you try to you counter back with, okay, I'll pay $133,000, but you got to see pictures. So maybe then the lender sends somebody out to take pictures, then they see how bad it is, and you can drive the price down. So you can typically, you know, get a good deal that way. Yeah, and Mincy, hey, you know, thanks for having me. You know, enjoyed being on it anytime. I'd love to share the information. You know, I think kind of the closing thought is, you know, when someone's out there, whether it's an investor, first-time buyer, a move-up buyer looking to buy a home, you know, they just really need to make sure that you're dealing with somebody who knows the short sale and foreclosure market.
Joe did it quickly, and Joe made it seem pretty simple. But guess what, viewers? It can actually be that simple when you're working with Real Deal Realtors. Joe mentioned that one of the ways of finding the good deal was to find that ugly home. Well, our next Real Deal Realtor, Christopher Allen, will take us into a new home property and show us how to find a good deal, plus take a look at the industry buzzwords like short sales, foreclosures, and bank liquidation properties. Chris?
Today, at one of the nation's premier builders, all right, Mercedes Homes, and today we have an opportunity to really talk to one of their agents to find out what's going on in this market, all right? And she's gonna give us the real deal, all right? So follow me. Let's go.
Hey, Brenda.
Hey, Chris. How you doing?
Welcome to the show.
Thank you so much.
Good. Go ahead and talk to the people a little bit.
Hi. Well, we're just so glad that you're here with us today. We were hoping that maybe we could shed some light on new home constructions and the benefit of it. So come on in. We'll talk about it.
All right, listen, Brenda, a lot of times people talk about on the media, some of the buzzwords you hear is foreclosure, short sale, distressed property. Go ahead and give us the definition of what a foreclosure is, short sale, and what's a distressed property.
Okay, I would say that, as you said, Chris, those are definitely buzzwords. Foreclosures oftentimes is a homeowner who possibly by no fault of their own have lost their jobs, are no longer able to keep up with their mortgage payment, and the bank takes back the property. Short sales are whenever a buyer is needing to sell the house but cannot sell the house for the actual mortgage on the house, so it's actually below the mortgage, and the banks will work with many times with buyers to help them sell a house through a short sale. Distressed, that kind of encompasses all those things, the foreclosures and the short sales. And unfortunately, a lot of those properties do become distressed. Mm-hmm. They're abandoned, they're vandalized, so there is some serious distress out there amongst short sales and foreclosures.
Well, in the media, people talking about the foreclosure, short sales, distressed property, and they talk about the pricing.
Right.
As saying that those prices are the best ones.
Right.
So how does the new builder compete with those type of prices?
Well, I'll tell you what, Chris, our customers, our prospects that come through, oftentimes are amazed at what the pricing is with new home construction. The builders are aware that we are in tough times, and so as a result, everyone has worked very hard to push down their pricing and yet to keep the features up. I would say, I can speak for ourselves, but it's also pretty comparable with our other builders, is that I would say anywhere between $83 to $100 a square foot is what you can get a new home for, with some really great features.
Really? Go ahead and tell us a little bit about some of the features.
In addition to just the fact that we have reduced pricing so substantially just in our homes without compromising the features that we're providing, the other things that builders have brought into the marketplace is a term called Energy Star Certified. It's a buzzword, as you said, for houses that have been built to save on energy. There's a plethora of ways of how a builder does that. It can be through insulation, it can be through energy efficient appliances, AC units that have tonnage and searing that is very appropriate to the square footage of the house. So Energy Star certification is something that has become very prevalent in new homes today. In addition to that, with a new home, which really creates value for the buyer, is warranties. I mean, you have a warranty to where when you come into that home, you don't have the stress of thinking, do I have mold issues? What if something bad happens to my house? That builder is there to protect you. Different builders have different warranty programs, but they are all designed to protect the buyer.
Now, what are some of the, you talk about incentives, some of the things that a lot of our viewers probably not knowing what an incentive is as far as new construction. What are some of the things that the builders are doing to make the cost more beneficial for the consumer?
Exactly. I would say that all the builders that are currently building in this market time, in this marketplace, are so competing with each other for your purchase that there is many things that the builders are bringing. Speaking for us, we do closing cost. We give you a certain dollar amount towards closing cost and prepaids. Sometimes all closing cost and prepaids. Sometimes there's a buy down for your rate. So there's many ways that the builders help you just in the actual financing of the home. Then there could be incentives like if you're building a home, we'll give you design dollars. And so all of a sudden you can go into the design center and you may have $15,000, $20,000, $25,000 just to decorate that house the way you want to. So there's really a lot of ways that we have found that we really want you to buy one of our homes and try to create the value for you.
That's good. All right, Brenda, tell us a little bit about the time frame on new construction. What's the build time frame versus what someone could buy if they bought like an existing home, foreclosure, short sale?
Exactly. Well, I would say that most of the builders at any given time have 3 to 7 inventory homes that are already built, ready to go, so that if you are coming into the marketplace and you need a home today, that all the builders pretty much have those houses ready to go. If you wanted to build your dream home, most of the builders, I would say, are in a 4 to 6 month time frame. Most of them have kind of gotten it down to about 4 months. So the time frame even for building is not very long.
That's good. That's good. Well, Brenda, it's a pleasure talking with you.
Thank you, Chris.
Pleasure meeting with you. I wish you much success.
Thank you.
And definitely thanks for having us out, okay?
Thank you.
All right. That's it. You heard from Miss Brenda. She talked about some awesome things. She talked about some comparisons in the industry. She talked about pricing, the price comparison with buying a new construction home versus buying an existing home. The price is very competitive according to the square footage. All right, but with the new construction, you're gonna get some extra added bonuses, like things like incentives, closing costs, granite countertops, a lot of things that the existing home probably would not be able to offer you. So that's something that you want to consider. Okay, she talked about the warranty. With the new construction, you're going to get a warranty that's going to cover the building from top to bottom all the way around. All right, you may not get that when you buy an existing home. All right, so that's something that you want to definitely consider. She talked about time frame. When you're buying a foreclosure, short sale, or distressed property, you might have to wait for a little while in order to get it. But Ms. Brenda talked about some things that they call inventory homes. These are homes that the builder has already established that they're ready to close on immediately. All right, so those are definitely some things that you want to consider when you're thinking about new construction. All right, now you heard it from Ms. Brenda, you heard it from me. Now you heard the real deal. Back to you, Mincy.
Thanks, Chris. Now, during the interview with Chris, he talked about how the media influences sometimes our decisions. They mention words like foreclosures, they mention words like short sales, bank liquidations, and sometimes when we hear this in the media, it stifles us. We think, well, maybe we shouldn't purchase a home now. Sometimes even our friends and talk at the water cooler cause us not to move. Well, as your Real Deal Realtor, I'm telling you, there's never been a better time to purchase a home in today's market than now. 1 out of every 4 viewers could purchase a home today, and they don't even know it. There are tons of programs that exist and go unused, like the NSP program that can pay up to $40,000 toward incentives, like the NSP program, Neighborhood Stabilization Program, that gives up to $40,000 off your list price in incentives and down payment assistance and more. There's programs like the Good Neighbor. If you're a teacher or if you're working in the service industry, you could actually purchase a home for $100 down. Just check with one of your local lenders and they can give you all the details. Well, next, we'll discover more benefits into purchasing your home. Standing by live with me is Selma Heddick. Selma, tell us about some of the tax benefits in purchasing a new home.
Well, Mincy, one of the benefits of purchasing a home is that you will have mortgage interest and property taxes to claim. Generally, unless you purchase a house for cash, you'll have to finance it and you'll have the mortgage interest to write off against your income. Also, when you purchase a home and you have the mortgage interest and property taxes, it'll allow you to claim some other deductions, such as your donations, contributions to church, non-cash donations close to Goodwill. So you'll qualify for credits that you have not qualified in the past because you'll finally be able to exceed the standard deduction and be able to itemize deductions.
Okay, Selma, when you say credits, do you mean the refund is going to be bigger?
With mortgage interest and property taxes, it is not an actual credit that you get. It's a deduction. With deductions, yes, your refund is going to be bigger, but it's not going to be dollar for dollar. You know, if you pay $10,000 in mortgage interest, you're not going to get $10,000 back by any means, but it's going to reduce your income by that much. So you may get, 5 or 10% of that back on your taxes, dollar for dollar, that you'll actually see.
You mentioned reduction of income. Now, as a Real Deal Realtor, we work with a lot of customers, and sometimes when we work with customers, there have been occasions where they weren't able to purchase the home because a previous year they did reduction of their income with their taxes and it didn't show enough income for them to purchase a home. Tell us a little bit about this.
See, Mincy, when they come in to file their taxes with us, unless they tell us what their goals are, our goal when we file their taxes is to have their income as low as possible, take every legal deduction that we can, and reduce their liability and have them pay the least amount or get the most amount of refund. The pitfall on that is that the less your income is, you don't qualify for things. You don't qualify for cars, you don't qualify for houses. So you have to kind of weigh it and see what your goal is each year. Do you want to pay the least amount of taxes, or do you want to set your income up to a way where you qualify to purchase a home? So we have to know when we file their taxes what their goal is. If you plan on purchasing a home in the next 2 years, then you need to set yourself up to where your income is going to be sufficient to purchase a home in the next 2 years. So you may not want to claim all the expenses that you can in the year that you're filing.
Now, if a customer did this in the previous year, have they totally missed the opportunity to purchase a new home? Okay.
They can go back and amend their tax return. You have 3 years to file an amendment. So you can go back anytime within those 3 years and correct your return. You know, if you took some expenses that were too much or that really weren't supposed to be there, you can go back and amend them. The thing you have to keep in mind is if you amend your taxes and take some expenses off, probably will cause you to owe some money from that year. So, but yes, you can go and amend them and you can fix those returns.
Tell me, you've done a lot of taxes this year. Do you know of any programs that are available to first-time home buyers or investors at this time?
Yes, there are some credits out there right now for, especially for military first-time home buyers. Taxpayers that have served in the military or serve in the military right now and had to serve outside the United States from December 31, 2008 until current, as long as they were outside the United States for a 90-day time period, they qualify for an $8,000 credit. Now, we talked a little bit about credits and deductions. This $8,000 first-time home buyer credit is an actual credit, and you get the money back dollar for dollar. The time frame is they have to place a contract, a binding contract before May 1st of 2011, and they have to close by October 1st of 2011. And again, any federal employees or military employees qualify who have had to serve outside the United States for at least 90 days between 2008, actually it's the last day of 2008, so December 31, 2008, so actually really 2009 through current for 90 days. As long as they were located outside the United States for 90 days, they qualify for the credit. And they have to close by October 1st. You also asked about investors. Investors that, you know, purchase a property, fix it up and rent it out, do get a credit as well. They get to write off any losses on those rental properties on their taxes, which reduces their income and therefore causes them to either get a larger refund or, you know, reduces their tax liability to where they owe little, you know, less or nothing at all.
Thanks, Selma.
Thank you, Mincy. I'm Selma Hiddich, and you've heard The Real Deal.
Well, up next is Real Deal Realtor Caleb Lopez, and he's going to help you alleviate a fear that many buyers and sellers experience when they go to the closing table or they visit a title company.
Hello and welcome. This is your Real Deal Realtor. We're going to be talking today about the ABCs of buying a home, and we're going to take you from the home that you like all the way to the closing table. The closing table. Here we are. We're sitting here with Christine Spar of Signature Title and Trust. Thank you, Christine, for meeting with us today.
Thank you very much. Nice meeting you.
Well, the most important thing is that closing can sometimes be intimidating and sometimes scary for buyers. What would you say would be the most important thing to ease buyers as they come into the closing table?
Well, the HUD-1 settlement statement is actually the breakdown of all the closing documents a client would sign before closing. It's important that they get that 24 hours before so they know that the figures match up exactly what's on the HUD and the good faith estimate. It also entails what the deposit is that they brought, so they definitely want to view that. County taxes, because taxes are usually prorated on the figures, so you want to make sure that's correct. We'll have your information like your name, which also matches up with the deed, and you want to make sure your insurance is covered. And also, if you're financing, the settlement statement, because there is a 10% tolerance with lenders, if you look through the loan terms, it'll actually go over the entire package for you. It'll tell you what the interest rate is, how much your loan is, whether or not you're paying principal and interest, whether the homeowner's insurance, is there a balloon rate, is there a prepayment penalty. All these things are included on the settlement statement, so there isn't anything hidden in the file for the client.
So most importantly, what Christine is saying is make sure that the HUD-1, which is the closing statement, basically matches up with your good faith estimate, which is what you initially start off with the lender. Now, Christine, if a buyer has to bring funds into closing, what form should those funds come in?
Well, a title company is allowed to accept a personal check under $500, but we definitely like to have a cashier's check or a money order from a bank.
Now, Christine, what normally does a buyer need to bring in when they come into the closing table?
Well, prior to closing, I usually call the buyer, make sure that they know what their figures are, to make sure that they understand how much is to be brought to closing, who it's payable to, where our address is and location. And I asked them to bring a driver's license. Also, if they have a secondary ID in their wallet, some lenders do require 2 IDs, not necessarily a photo ID. Also, if it's their primary residence, it's very important that they bring their spouse. Their spouse, even though they're not on the loan, they are required to sign the mortgage in Truth in Lending to be able to acknowledge that there is a mortgage on their primary residence.
And that is very important because, once again, Florida is a marital state, which means that if you are legally married, it doesn't make a difference if you're separated, if you're not together, if he lives in another state, you have to actually bring your spouse in with you. And once again, to recap, is that this settlement statement, otherwise known as the HUD-1, it is so very important for buyers to know this, because what that does is it makes all these other papers a lot easier to understand. Well, today we've spoken with Christine Spar a lot about how to assist buyers at the actual closing table. But what we didn't discuss, as we discussed earlier in the show about today's market and the reality of today's market, we deal a lot with short sales. Christine, tell us a little bit about how you help today's sellers with short sales.
Well, once I receive contact information from the realtor, I will forward a short sale package to the seller, verify that they have the information, and inside the package would be a hardship letter along with the seller's information sheet as to exactly what the bank requires to process a short sale, and a third-party authorization so myself and the realtor can speak on their behalf.
Now, Christine, tell us why that authorization is so important, and what does that authorization allow you to do on behalf of the seller, which makes that process so much easier for that seller?
Well, it helps the seller, of course, to avoid foreclosure, along with getting their house sold, listed with a real estate agent. And it also it gives us the opportunity to find out exactly what the bank wants to net, so we can sell it for less.
So once again, there's 2 things most importantly that Christine does for our sellers. Number 1, it makes the short sale process and the reality a whole lot less stressful. And number 2, most importantly, she makes the short sale process easy.
Yes, exactly.
Go ahead.
Well, there you have it, viewers. Today we've spoken with Christine Spar of Signature Title and Trust, and she's basically went over a lot about how to make it easy for the buyers at the closing table. Also, she's discussed on how to assist homeowners that are currently facing the crisis of foreclosure, and how she, number 1, makes it less stressful, and number 2, how she makes it easy for the short sale process. So you've heard it from us, and now you've heard the real deal.
Well, that's our show for today. But the Real Deal Realtors will be in your town this Saturday for a live taping and a free home buying seminar. Log on to the website for more details at therealdealrealtors.com. And while on the site, be sure to leave your comments. We'd love to hear from you. And also tons of free information on buying and selling your home. Until the next time, you've heard it from them, you've heard it from me. Now, you've heard the real deal.